Not long ago, an entire world watched as a little girl and a holy exorcist battled and cast out the devil himself. But now, Linda Blair's been repossessed. And this is the only man who could possibly save her. Leslie Nielsen.
I couldn't find my butt with both my hands.
Linda Blair.
God created man in his own image.
Then how do you explain Pee Wee Herman?
Repossessed.
Of course I love you, yeah. Tonight, no. No feathers, we'll use the whole chicken.
Coming soon.
Repossessed is a 1990 comedy spoof movie directed by Bob Logan. The film stars Linda Blair, Ned Beatty, and Leslie Nielsen as Father Jebediah May-I. The film received a limited theatrical release in the United States by New Line Cinema in September of 1990 and was released on VHS and Laserdisc by Live Video the same year. These days you can find it in a 4-film collection with My Best Friend is a Vampire, Slaughter High, and one of my all-time favorites, Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, Better Watch Out on Lionsgate Entertainment. And it is also available in the Lost Collection series with a pretty cool trivia track. While this is a spoof of the original Exorcist, this movie was actually released just 3 months after The Exorcist Part 3. There's kind of a little joke here showing the sign of the times, in that Linda Blair's character is named Reagan in The Exorcist, and in this movie she's named Nancy, so you get Nancy Reagan. Yeah, clever stuff there. Bob Logan and Linda Blair have actually worked together on a few things before. One thing I really enjoyed watching was How to Get Revenge, a directional video made by the pair. Check this out.
Maybe you remember this classic bit of adolescent revenge. The idea was to fill a paper bag with fresh animal droppings. The fresher, the better. Then place it on the victim's doorstep. Once done, you'd light the bag on fire, knock on the victim's front door, then run to his backyard. Then when the victim arrived, usually the neighborhood grouch, he'd have no choice but to put out the fire. Meanwhile, you'd run to the victim's back door and begin pounding on it. This would cause the startled victim to run back through his home, soiling his fine shag carpeting with animal droppings while you've made your clean exit. Fasten your seatbelts, for now it's time for us to explore the more serious forms of revenge.
And we get hints of this same kind of comedy throughout this film, and like in this scene right here.
For another episode of Brideshead Revisited.
At last, my dear, sweet, loving bride.
My darling,
Okay, kids, dinner's almost ready. Turn off the TV.
What are we having?
Oh, your favorite. Prime rib, sweet potatoes, green beans, and split pea soup.
Now, essentially, this movie is about a girl that gets possessed, and the priest that drives the demon out is once again called to duty years later when the seemingly fine little girl grown up, played by Linda Blair, somehow gets repossessed by watching a televangelical show on TV. Pretty bizarre stuff. Anyways, Father May-I has to exorcise the demons before the evangelicals get a chance to take advantage of her.
It is my opinion that he has indeed proved that an exorcism is necessary. Furthermore, why don't we televise this exorcism?
And in between all that, we get some really wacky stuff. There are some fun cameos, again dating itself, but the Body by Jake guy is here.
Excuse me, I'm looking for a man. Well, no, you go find one of your own. This one's already taken. Check, please.
And also, we have the legends Jesse Ventura and Mean Gene Okerlund. and also an early appearance of character actor Willie Garson. You may know him best from Sex and the City.
Do you expect us to swallow this bullshit?
This movie hits every spoof movie cue to the max. The gags per minute here are outrageous, and in my opinion holds up with the best of them, especially when compared to other similarly themed romps.
Father May-I has once again wormed his way out of yet another exorcism.
Now this got notoriously bad reviews by pretty much every reviewer out there, including the likes of Leonard Maltin and guys like that. But while the film didn't win many accolades, one thing it did snag was a Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Original Song for the title song of the film, He's Coming Back, The Devil.
Or as Leslie Nielsen would have said,
IFC ranked the film number 8 in best to worst Leslie Nielsen films, just after Spy Hard, which is an amazing movie, and just before Mr. Magoo, but frequently ranks lower when compared to Nielsen's other films. But let's be clear, folks. This is not his worst movie by any means. And of course, as with Bob Logan's other film, Meatballs 4, higher powers kept the film from reaching its full potential. I had the opportunity to talk to director Bob Logan. Let's take a look at that. So how did you start your working relationship with Linda Blair?
I met Linda through Murray Langston, who is one of my dear friends. He's the comedian known as the Unknown Comic, the comedian with the bag on his head from the Gong Show. He was very famous in the 70s and 80s and what have you. Anyway, Murray's a terrific guy too. He knew Linda very well. And Murray and I met, came up with an idea to do a little movie, which would turn out to be my first movie, which is called Up Your Alley. Little low-budget romantic comedy about the homeless in L.A. And Linda read the script, loved it, wanted to do it. So we made this movie called Up Your Alley with her, did it real well. And while shooting that movie, I came up with the idea of doing a spoof of The Exorcist. Just the title hit me first, more than anything else. If Linda Blair has the devil come back into her, she's repossessed. And I went, hey. So I told her about the idea, but she didn't want to do it at all because she said, too many people make fun of me. Ever since I made The Exorcist, people see in the street, hey, Linda Blair, throw up for us. Hey, Linda Blair, turn your head around, that kind of stuff. So she didn't want to do that. But I wrote the script anyway. Something told me to write it. I wrote the script. I showed it to her. She read it. She doesn't understand comedy that well to read in a reading way. And so I just don't get it. So I took her to see a new movie that just came out with Leslie Nielsen called The Naked Gun, the first one. This is about 1989. And she saw the movie, laughed her ass off, and said, I get that kind of humor now. That's what the script's about. Yeah. She goes, okay, I'll commit to it. I'll do it for you, but I only have one request. And I go, what? She goes, I want you to get Leslie Nielsen to be in the movie. And that was like saying, yeah, just get George Clooney, and if he'll be in your movie, I'll do it, that kind of thing. But I had Leslie's business card because I had written a TV show that he was on years before, and he liked my writing a lot. But I hadn't spoken to him, and he didn't really know who I was per se. But I called him up, left a message. He called me back. I told him what it was about, and it's a long story there. That's another time. That's a half-hour story. But I got Leslie to commit. I got the biggest comedy star in show business at the time to say, yeah, I love the script. Let's do it. And within 3 days, I had a deal with Carolco, Mauro Casar. And suddenly, here's many millions of dollars. Go off and make the movie in 3 days.
So would you say that Leslie Nielsen agreeing to do this basically got this film made?
Oh, yeah. Frankly, with respect to Linda, I mean, nobody was going to say, here's millions of dollars, and, if you put Linda Blair in your movie. But with Leslie, oh, yeah, instantly. 3 days later, because I had the biggest star in Hollywood, the biggest comedy star in Hollywood saying, I want to do this movie with, and plus the subject matter, a spoof of arguably the greatest horror movie of all time. With the actual star, and then Leslie Nielsen and making it a comedy. Come on, it's like kind of like Mel Brooks wanting to make Young Frankenstein, kind of a thing. So, yeah, that's what all the stars lined up for that one perfectly, and never happen again like that. Never will either. Right, Leslie? We only had him for 10 days of the shoot contractually. So every day that I got a chance to direct him was a kick. And I can't even say direct him. He's just. It sounds like, oh, I had to teach him things. No, we just went there and had fun. He was the sweetest, nicest man who did me a large, because what he did was, you know, my first movie, that little Linda Blair movie, we did for like $80,000. And now my next movie's, here's millions and millions and millions of dollars with this young director, second-time director, and it was because of him committing to the project. I will forever be in his debt. He was a sweetheart. I mean, everything you'd want him to be, he was. He had the best life. He was a movie star. He got to fart whenever he wanted. He played golf. His life was just laughs. You know, because you got to think, Leslie Nielsen, for the first 35 years of his career, was a straight man. He was just a straight actor, non-comedy. Yeah, he'd only done, I think, MASH. He did one episode of MASH, was the only comedy up until Airplane came out. And after Airplane, you couldn't cast him in anything serious because you laugh at the guy, you know. Barbra Streisand made a movie called Nuts, based on a Broadway play. It was a very serious play about a woman who gets raped and whatever. And so she did the movie, and for some reason she wanted Leslie to play the man who raped her. And so she did. And the problem was, at the theater, as soon as Leslie comes on screen, people start laughing.
Let's take a nice, sexy bubble bath together.
It's a very serious movie, but he starts laughing. And I guess when he's raping Barbra Streisand, people are going, ah! Hey, don't call her Shirley. You know, that kind of, and it kind of ruined the movie.
What are you going to do now? Fuck somebody else?
Yeah, just a wonderful, I mean, believe me, the kind of guy you just want to go out and have a pizza and beer with, you know. You know, nowadays, this is like, we shot the movie in 1989 and it came out in 90. Back then, the parody laws were a little more stringent. For example, I had a whole thing of, there's a scene where Ned Beatty says something about that. This show's gonna be the biggest ratings bonanza. And then and then all of a sudden there's a picture of a map behind him and it starts burning like the TV show Bonanza. Dun, 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 dun. Well, you could have used actual music, but we had to do a knockoff of it, you know, like that, because the parody laws weren't that strong. Nowadays, you can parody anything. I mean, in any way. You can show, if you did parody a CNN news spot, you can have the logo, instead of saying CNM, it would be CNN, and it'll be the actual logo, and it'll be the actual music and everything. So, yeah, so satire laws have broadened much nicely. So Charlie Fox did the music for Repossessed. Charlie is the guy who did the Love Boat theme, the Love Boat. And Charlie also did the song Killing Me Softly with Roberta Flack. And he's terrific, just a great guy. And yeah, different people for different projects. Yeah. That's where I met Linda. Actually, Murray had introduced me to Linda just before that. That was at a time that everybody was putting things on VHS and selling them. You know, you take your home movies and put them on VHS and sell it. You know. And everyone was doing special made for VHS type projects. And I just had the idea of, wouldn't it be cool to have a kind of a comedy, but really showing you things how to get revenge on people. You know, it's kind of just because I think viscerally, everyone has got at least one person in their life they like to get revenge on. You know, not that they're going to do it, but they like to. You know, and that was the hook. Everyone's got someone. So. It was originally not going to be Linda Blair hosting that, by the way. It was going to be G. Gordon Liddy from Watergate fame. He was one of the burglars in Watergate, G. Gordon Liddy. We flew him in to L.A., met with him. He wanted to do it. He was going to be the host of it. And then about 2 weeks before shooting, somebody tried to run him over in front of his house, and he broke his leg. I know that sounds stupid, but somebody tried to run him over. Yeah, broke his leg, couldn't do it. So I'm like, who do I get? Blah, blah, blah. And then Murray and I were talking, and he mentioned Linda Blair, and I thought, oh, wait, the devil made me do it. So I got Linda, worked out a deal with her, and she hosted it. And that's what we did. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the Brideshead Revisited. That was awesome.
Oh, jeez. That hasn't been in my brain cell for 30 years. I forgot about that. It was Brideshead Revisited was very popular on PBS. And so when you're flipping channels, I just thought you'd have some fun with the TV shows. And there's Brideshead, and of course, it was a bride's head on a table, no body to it. And the guy comes in and says, "How are you, Brideshead?" Or she goes, "Oh, so nice of you to revisit me." And then click, you change. Then we had there was that. God, I forgot about Brideshead Revisit. Then there was also a hockey, when we had a hockey fight that was going on between NHL All-Stars and Peggy Fleming and the Ice Capades. Creatures beating the shit out of each other. That shot was the very first shot we shot of the movie, was the one about the hockey thing. We went to a hockey rink, and it wasn't even on film. We actually shot it on video to give it that look. But that was the very first day shooting.
So was the Devil in the Blue Dress dance sequence thing always planned?
It was always going to be Devil in the Blue Dress. It just was the perfect song, you know. And you need to end the movie in a certain way. There were a lot of elements that it's a long, involved story, but there were a lot of elements and story points that were taken out of the film that I didn't want to have happen. I was my second movie. I was not in a position to say, hey, I got director's cut and all like that. And, for example, the whole story with Ned Beatty and the mob and all like that was really fleshed out a little bit better, and it was actually very funny, but they didn't want that. The problem was when I was editing the movie, Mario Kassar and Andy Vanya, they sold the company. And anyway, new people came in. The new people who were going to advertise the movie, and they thought it was. Here's what they did: they came to the editing room. No, true story. I still got about 2 weeks to edit the film, and they came in. They set up a meeting. There's two guys and a girl, you know, early 20s, execs. They came in and they joined me in my editing team, and they said, "Okay, we want to tell you what we know. All we know about Repossessed is that it's a comedy about stealing cars." And I went. And my editor, Jeff Freeman, is sitting right next to me, and he turns back to me, and this is what he does. He mouths it. Doesn't say it, he mouths it. He goes, and he was right. We were fucked. They thought it was a movie. They thought it was a movie for kids. And we're going, from the beginning, this has been a movie for people who've seen The Exorcist. How do you do a parody of a movie for people who haven't seen the movie? Kids haven't seen it, so it was a long, involved thing. So, but they wanted to attract the younger audience, so we added the music sequence, the big music sequence at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Not only did you get Leslie Nielsen on film parodying Michael Jackson, but also Corey Feldman.
Isn't that funny? Yeah. And Corey was a very close friend of Michael. Corey would go up to not Graceland. What was he called it?
Yeah, I think you're talking about Neverland Ranch.
There you go. He would go up there and spend nights with him, and but not. We talked about that too. I says, Jackson, you know. He goes, no, he just wants to be a kid. He would always say, he just wants to be a kid. He wants to go around in pajamas and milk and cookies and watch videos. He just happened to be a 35-year-old man. But I mean, he didn't, because Michael Jackson didn't have a childhood. He was trying to make up for it. That was Corey's big thing. Corey always defended him till the end, you know.
He's back. Thought he was gone, Jack. Now in fact, he's
I did not want that song in there at all, and the studio put it in there because again they wanted to get the kids. That was the big hassle. Was after I shot one movie for them, and then afterward the marketing people wanted to make it another movie, and they were so. Let me tell you how stupid they were. They had the only Leslie Nielsen comedy of 1990 for the summer of 19. The only Leslie Nielsen comedy the year after Naked Gun. And it was in a spoof of The Exorcist with Linda Blair, and they released it at 100 theaters because they didn't want it. It's like a lion that comes into a pride and scares the other lion away. First thing he does is he kills all the offspring of the lion. It wasn't their project. They wanted to do their projects. Yeah. But it helped make it help give it kind of a cult following, I guess, but still.
How long was Jesse Ventura and Mean Gene on set?
2 hours. You'll notice it's the same camera angle, basically. Just a two-shot, and that's whatever. That one wasn't really my idea. It was just, let's add some extra elements to it, to speed up the final sequence. And it was okay. And again, to get the kids in.
Was there a lot of stuff left on the cutting room floor?
The old joke that I wrote years ago was, there's this one actress and she wound up on the editing room floor, and I still wouldn't put her in.
Yeah, good one.
Thank you. In Repossessed, like I said, a lot of the story that dealt with the Exorcist part, we lost because they wanted to add stupid stuff for the little kids. To be honest with you, so there was more to the story, but because you got to have a tight story. If you don't have your story is your Christmas tree. You can put all the ornaments, all the funny jokes are the ornaments on the Christmas tree, but you got to have something that looks like a tree. That's your story. And these idiots I was dealing with at Carolco, just the second batch of people were the idiots. Didn't see that. So what does that tell you? The only way you can control it is if you own it.
Did Leslie improv a lot?
No, he didn't. He'd occasionally come up with a twist on a line a little bit or something like that, but no. And that is the sign of a really confident actor, that he can make the material work. So no, there was not a ton of ad-libbing on this set. The script was kind of tight, and and not to say that we didn't ad-lib. I always added a little something here or there, but not a lot of it. Not on this one. Repossessed was a joy to shoot. It became a little bit of a nightmare, a big nightmare afterward, because it should have been a massive hit movie. How do you have the only Leslie Nielsen comedy and the next year after Naked Gun, the only one in the summertime, and not put it out there to 2,500 screens? So anyway. That's show business. That's show business. I live by the years ago. I used to write for Joan Rivers, Rodney Dangerfield, all the big comedians and all like that. And a line I wrote for Joan was, never rationalize an irrational business about Hollywood. And it's true. And I live by that to this day. If you try to make sense of Hollywood, you're going to become depressed, moody, maybe get involved in drugs, alcohol, if you're trying to figure out something that's never going to make sense. This business never will make sense. Crappy movies will be given $100 million budgets, and movies that should definitely be made don't get made. People with great talent are bussing tables at restaurants. People with no talent have got 3-picture deals. Nothing will make sense in this town. And if you realize that, if it goes, what happened? That happened? You just go, all right, that's the business. You'll be fine. But if you try to make sense of it, you'll blow your brains out. So, don't make sense of it.
Be sure and subscribe to Staunch TV to stay updated on all things Staunch on Film. We're going to be taking a little break from the episodes of Staunch on Film, and I'm going to be doing some reviews and some other interviews to tie in with our spooky October theme while we work on some new episodes of the show. Until next time, folks.
Would you pull down your dress?
Sure.
Up!
Don't forget to rewind.